y'all, it's Tracy here for Not Too Shabby Shop. In today's video, we are going to make a slimline card with some no-line watercolor. Now let me warn you, I speed that watercolor way up because it takes a long time and a lot of patience, but the outcome is amazing. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so here's the final card, and it is some peach ice cream, a little treat for someone sweet. And I'm going to be using some goodies from Not Too Shabby Shop. I'm going to be using the Peach Perfect stamps, the peach ice cream bowl, which is what I'm going to no-line watercolor, and the little treat for someone sweet stamp. And then I'm going to be using this floral from the Watercolor Peaches paper pad, both from the subscription box of the month. Okay, so starting out, I am stamping my peaches out in kind of an orange, and it's a water-based orange. And what I'm going to do here is just get my bowl wet and kind of just move the paint around. My main point that I want to make with this is that don't make yourself be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you want it to be perfect, take your time, do wet to dry. I'm doing wet to wet, which means I'm getting my paper wet first and then laying down my color. And then later on, after it's dry, doing some blending. So you can see that I'm just adding depth of color here. And I'm just using those 4 colors right there and just mixing them as needed. Getting that depth on that bowl, and let's get that peach going. And basically what I'm doing is washing out the orange lines that I made. They're kind of still there, and that's okay. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just adding a little bit of white here just to kind of brighten up my ice cream a little bit. Give it a little bit of light. And then adding some shadows there with the sienna paint. So I'm using, I forget the colors I'm using. I'll list it down below. So I've fussy cut that out, and now I'm just kind of painting around the edges. And that's the simple part. Now I'm going to do the background, and I'm just laying in color on wet paper. And there's really no method to this. Just go for it. Have fun. Throw your paint down. I encourage you to experiment with your stuff. I know y'all have some watercolors laying around of some sort. So I'm lightening this up a little. It was a little bit too dark for my taste. So I just added some white and water. Lots and lots of water. So that's all done. Let's go ahead and put the card together. So I've got the Watercolor Peaches paper, and I've chosen these little kind of peach blossoms. And then, of course, you saw me stamp out the peaches. And then I'm going to do the treat for someone sweet. What I'm going to start with is my base. Let's spit it out here, T. Okay, I'm going to start with a card base, and this is a slimline card base, so I cut it 7 by 8, and my matte layer is 6 3/4 by 3 3/4. So that I've got a white border all around. I'm going to go ahead and glue my matte layer down. And friends, I ironed this out flat with my iron. So you can do that if you want to. And it still isn't perfectly flat, but it's much flatter. So that's what I did to kind of get it flat. And I'm not in any need of this being a perfect look. I'm looking for that just kind of free-flowing watercolor look. So make sure that's good and stuck down. And I use my art glitter glue because it sticks very quickly. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut out 3 circles from that floral paper. And this circle is about, let's get about 2 1/4, it looks like, from rim to rim, almost 2 1/2. So I'm going to cut out 3 circles off camera, and I'm also going to cut out a piece of vellum a little bit smaller. And this is kind of some iridescent vellum. So I'll just grab a smaller circle, and I'll be right back with those all cut out. All right, I've got them all cut out. I've got all my components ready for my card except for my sentiment. So we're going to start by doing our card layout, and what I want is I want my center circle sort of overlapping the 2 back circles like that. And so that center circle is going to be popped up, and what I'm doing is just kind of moving around my other circles so that they're, you know, kind of evenly spaced on all edges. and then I'll go ahead and glue those down. And I'm just going to glue those flat to the card base. So we'll get that, and I've got about 3/4 to an inch from the right hand side there, and then I just want to make the second circle evenly spaced from that. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is a handmade card. So, you know, do your best. Anyway, I try to. Get that circle down. Okay, perfectly happy with my placement there of my circles. I know that my center circle is going to slightly overlap. I'm just going to place a little dot of glue right in the middle there and lay down my vellum. And that's just kind of a buffer between the sentiment and the circle so that the sentiment doesn't kind of get lost in that floral, but you still have that floral. So I am going to pop that piece up on a piece of foam tape. Let's see here. I'm looking for the right foam tape here. Okay, we're going to use this one here, which is about 2, maybe 3 millimeter. You know, you guys know I don't know how to measure that. It's not a super low profile one. Let's just say that. But I do want to make sure that I get it, you know, plenty on there so that nothing is rocking on there. And so I just take a long piece and cut it off and then use it. And then anything that's left over, I just stick it back onto the roll, like the side of the roll. Get a little piece right here. Trim that off, make sure nothing's sticking out. Okay. I'm just going to lay that right down there, overlapping the other 2 circles. And I'll peel off my backers, and I want to say that I added glue. Sorry, friends, did this a couple of days ago, and just now getting time to do a voiceover. Well, let me put that differently. Getting quiet space to do a voiceover. A lot of noise goes on at my house, especially when the weather's good. People are outside rototilling, mowing their lawns, you know, running jackhammers, whatever they're doing. All right, we'll get that in a nice comfortable space right there in the middle. And because I put liquid glue on there, I have a little bit of wiggle room. And at first I think I'll put just the one ice cream. And this is why I decided to, because the first one I did off camera. And I decided I wanted to change my mind on my style. And so I needed a second one. So I just went ahead and did the second one on camera. So you can see that they're a little bit different. They're never going to be 2 the same unless you kind of do them both at the same time, which that's a little bit more than I can do. So I'm going to pop those up too, but I'm going to pop them up on a lower profile foam tape. But let's go ahead and get our sentiment going here. And I'm going to do something different for my sentiment, so I'm not going to have any black on this card at all. I'm going to try and emulate the peach color on this. Now, do I have a peach color ink? Not necessarily, but you don't necessarily have to have one. And I will be doing some heat embossing as well, and that'll help enhance the color. So I'm going to grab just a white sheet of paper here. I'm looking for a scrap, but I don't have one, so I'm just going to grab a full one. And this is some Hammermill 100-pound paper. It's easier to cut. Most of the time I'll use Accent Opaque 120-pound, but it's kind of choppy when you cut it. So that's something to think about if you're going to be fussy cutting. And so trying to decide on an ink color here, and I know that I'm going to go with Distress Oxides. So I'm going to test Abandoned Coral and see if I like the way it looks, see if it comes even close. So we'll go ahead and stamp down the Abandoned Coral, and no, I'm not, not quite. Let's try another layer, see if that helps. It's a little bit dark for me, but I just keep on stamping, and then I decide to maybe, let's try going in with a little bit of yellow and combine those colors. So I'm going to grab my scattered straw here. And now I'm kind of liking it a little bit better. It's kind of giving it a little bit of an ombre fill, and I like that. Kind of like a Peaches. It's got a little yellow, it's got a little dark, a little bit of everything. And then I am going to grab some embossing powder here, and I'm going to be using the Distress embossing glaze. And the color that I'm using there, I think saltwater taffy. So with the combination of all those colors, I end up with the color that I'm happy with. So I did go over that with some Versamark ink, just to make sure. It'll stick to the Distress Oxide, but I might have let it dry too long, and I just want to make sure that my embossing powder is sticking to that nicely. So we'll go ahead and heat emboss that. And what that's going to do is just add a little bit of tint to whatever color is down below it, because it is a, you know, a clearish, what's the word? Translucent, that's the word. So I'm going to go ahead and cool that off and fussy cut it out, and then we'll finish putting the card together. And of course I'm speeding this up, but I can fussy cut pretty quickly. And I'm just kind of, you know, just cutting around the shape of it best I can. I'm never perfect at this. It's okay. Again, handmade card, friends. Okay, just get this side cut out. And yeah, I do have this double sped, so, or even more maybe. But it's, you know, it's one single piece, and you could just cut it into a square or use a circle punch or cut it out with a circle if you wanted to. There, happy with that. Okay, let's finish putting this card together now. Make sure that my little bowls of ice cream are straight. And I'm going to pop those up on a lower profile foam tape. Let me find it here. So this is a 1mm foam tape. It's my favorite, and I'm almost out of it, so I'll have to think about ordering some more pretty soon. So I'm just going to put one piece on each bowl of ice cream, because I don't want them popping up higher. They're still supposed to be kind of recessed. And I'm going to just tilt them slightly opposite ways on each side. Okay, we'll grab the next one. I love this peach kit. Orange is in my favorite color range, so anything peach, orange, coral, red, pink, you know. I'm there for it. Okay. Happy with that. Now my vellum is starting to warp on me a little bit there, and I'm not loving that. So I'm adding just a little bit of glue. This is still going to be hidden behind the sentiment, but it's going to help that vellum sit a little bit flatter. So we'll just give it a little love here, getting that glue spread around. And then I'll pop that little guy up on that same lower profile foam tape. Now all we have left to do is do some embellishments. And I'm going to use the Not Too Shabby enamel dots. And I promise, friends, I can't tell you which kit it's from, because I take them all out and put them in an envelope, so that I can grab the whole envelope and pick colors as needed. But here it is so far. I actually had a lot of fun making this card, just doing something different. Typically, you know, I kind of go conservative for my design team videos, but I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. And then see, here I am trying to select a color. Kind of like that one, but oh, look at that one. That's perfect. Okay, that's the one we're going to use. And then I'll go ahead and just use my tweezers and just place these down kind of randomly. I do want that little bit of sparkle and shine. Yeah, and sometimes I fight with these little guys. I can't pick them up with my fingers. I'm always in awe of people who can. If I try, they just fly out of my fingers. They like to take a flying leap. Let's do a little one right there. Okay, kind of try and get it balanced somewhat. Another little one right there. Okay, I'm happy with that. So there's the finished card. I hope you like it. Like I said, I had a lot of fun making it. And I will have everything you need listed in the description box below. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. Take care, everyone. Here's a couple of still pictures just to enjoy. Have fun. Take care. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.